Everyone, welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great weekend, and I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. It's actually pretty nice here in Richmond, Kentucky today. Pretty sunny and about 60 degrees, and going to be even warmer tomorrow. So, after 2 or 3 weeks of snow and ice and bitter cold, it's a welcome change. Uh, what I'd like to do, this is going to be the first part of maybe a 2 or 3 part series. It's about one of my favorite periods in comics. Of course, I'm all about the Bronze Age. Bronze Age was my golden age. I kind of missed out on a lot of the Silver Age stuff, but I went back later on and rediscovered or discovered all that great stuff. But this is going to be about DC Comics specifically around 1978 to what was known as the DC Explosion. Uh, Always a great memory for me. I saw these ads coming out, more pages, more bang for your buck, more backup features, and I'm a big fan of the backup features, the guys that don't get a whole lot of, attention and all that. But, yeah, this is one of those things where, I've had a passion for this forever, and I've been wanting to do these videos and videos on the aftermath or the implosion. But this is just going to concentrate on the explosion, all the new titles that came out and all the new features. And I actually, a few months ago, finally completed what I would call the DC Explosion months. There were 3 months from June through June, July, and August of 1978, where all the books went to 44 pages and 50 cents. Now, I've included the books that were like already dollar books just for sake of continuity, just because I wanted to have all the books from those 3 months. So I finally accumulated all those. I bought most of them when I was a kid, and some of the oddball stuff like the last issue of Doorway into Nightmare, and some of the Sergeant Rock, and a couple of the horror titles and Western, like weird westerns. I picked those up in the last several years, and so I finally completed them. So at this point, maybe give a little background of what was going on in DC at the time. And got to talk about Carmine Infantino. The guy, worked for DC and other publishers like in the 40s and 50s, and then in the 50s, from then on to like mid 70s, Carmine was strictly like a DC guy. And around, I guess, late 66, early 77, they made Infantino the art director. Brought in a lot of great new talent, like from Charlton, brought in Dick Giordano, and later on people like Jim Aparo, and he brought Neil Adams, and had a lot of great titles, stuff like Secret Six, and weird stuff like Brother Power of the Geek, and Batlash, and Hawk and Dove, and just all this great stuff. Brought Denny O'Neil over. He was at Charlton at the time, so did a lot of great things. Of course, he helped design the Silver Age Flash. Barry Allen did all the Strange Adventures and Mystery and Space stuff. Space Museum. Helped design Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. Just a lot of great stuff he did. Wasn't my favorite artist, as far as like anatomy and stuff like that. He had more, I guess, what you would call style than like anatomically correct stuff, But really enjoyed it. And but after that, when he stopped doing so many art jobs, he was like the art director. And in 1971, they hired him as the publisher. So he was published from 71 to 76, and that's when they brought in Jeanette Kahn. Uh, and I think she probably kind of had a little bit of rough time of it because she was only known then for like publishing two kids magazines. If any of you guys around my age remember the magazines Smash and Dynamite, she was a publisher of those. I think they called it the Weekly Reader. They would give us, it was like a little leaflet of like books you could order, and Smash and Dynamite, you could order those magazines, or you could order a Peanuts book, or a paperback, a sci-fi paperback, or whatever you wanted to get. But I remember Dynamite, especially from the Weekly Reader leaflets we used to get as kids. So when she came to DC in '76, they ousted Infantino, and he went on to do a lot of freelancer work. Went to did a lot of stuff for Marvel and this, that, and the other. But as far as Jeanette Kahn's concerned, I like a lot of the stuff she did. Bringing in artists and changing formats. I love the dollar comics. They were really promoting the Superman movie around that time, so there was all that going on. Superman, Muhammad Ali, and before that with Infantino, you had Superman and Spider-Man. So lots of, they were trying to, pick an industry up that in the 70s was kind of going down the tubes, basically. So a little background on Jeanette Kahn. Here's I've printed out, and some of this I've printed out for a while, just some publishorals and some articles in DC Comics and some of the house ads of the coming attractions as far as the DC Explosion and all that. So here's a little page from comics going around then, kind of introducing Jeanette Kahn. I think Neil Adams did like a little sketch of her and said why does this picture look like Mary Tyler Moore and why are my teeth so big? And here's Jack Adler promising that picture would never get published. So, they were having some fun with it and just kind of giving some background about where she's from and what she was doing. Got a couple pictures I printed out. Here's one of Jeanette Kahn and Stan Lee around 1976 when they were speaking at Temple University. The first Marvel versus DC. And here later on, you have her with Joe Orlando, who's famous for working at EC and DC. Artist, writer, editor for a long time. And when Jeanette Kahn came in, I think it was more of an old boys club, and a lot of guys resented it. But she did a lot of good things. She did some things I didn't like. She hated reprints. She hated reprint books, which is kind of odd. But she canceled stuff like 4-Star Spectacular and a lot of the other maybe square bound books or saddle stitch books that had a lot of reprints in them. And what was funny later on, a lot of the new DC Explosion books, well, not a lot, but some of them that came out were reprint books. So there you go. Here's another article. This is announcing the Dollar Comics, which, I really loved all those. They first came out, it was World's Finest, Superman Family, GI Combat, and House of Mystery. And I thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread, And later on, they had them come out with no ads in the books, which I was kind of sad about that because I love the house ads, obviously. And that was talking about the dot, and this is a publishorial. And for those of you that are wondering where I got my little closing tag at the end of my videos, there it is. But yeah, this is announcing the new format, 44 pages for 50 cents, and trying to explain away we're charging you so much more, but you're getting so much more of a bargain and all this kind of stuff. So, give myself a little bit more light here. But this is from one of the comics in 78, announcing that stuff. And at that time, they started sending out little leaflets called Direct Currents, and I'm sure everyone that follows DC knows what Direct Currents is. You see it in the back of comics later on, and there was actually like a slick color version of it, like later on, like in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. But this was like back in the 70s, and they would sit these little loose black and white leaflets, just kind of telling what was coming up from DC. And upcoming books. Got some Western classics, stuff like that, and demand classics, which those books never came out. But that's a story for the Implosion version. I printed this out of one of my own comics. This is a subscription form after they went to the DC Explosion format. And some ads for that. I thought this was pretty cool. And here's a nice black and white ad by Jim Aparo. More DC Explosion goodness. My light is kind of fading in and out. I don't know what's going on. And here's more house ad goodness. Great piece by Joe Staten. I look at all those characters. Oh, look, there's OMAC and Some dude in the back is like called The Odd Man by Steve Ditko. I was like, wow, when's all this stuff coming out? I can't wait. Got Enemy Ace there, Dead Man, Hawkman, Martian Manhunter, The Ray, Big Barda, and some more. This is one of my favorites of that run. DC Special Series 15. It's got like the first Frank Miller art on Batman. Got some Marshall Rogers, Michael Golden, Mike Nasser, Denny O'Neil stories. And here you got the ads for Western and Demand Classics #1 and Showcase 105, all which never saw the light of day. And the last one I have here is some more. Touting the dollar comics with no ads. And here you have Showcase 104, which was actually the last issue of that title. Got Battle and Demand Classics, which did come out. So like I said, I finally accumulated all the books from those 3 months. Get some water here, I'm getting a little dry. So I was happy to get all those. Some of them I've upgraded. Some of them I just didn't have. And some I still want to upgrade, obviously later on. But like I said, in 1978, from June through August, these were on sale and had, and I'm not going to go through and say what was on sale what week, but, they were from June through August, and they were like, as far as like what was on the cover, it were like September, October on up, from that. And of course, everyone knows about the month and the date difference between the comics, between what was on when they were actually on sale and what the cover date was. So I'm going to start this off. This was from June 1978. This first bunch of books are all in alphabetical order. So we'll just kind of get right into it. These were on sale in June of 1978. Here's Action Comics, $4.87. More super pages, more super action, and more plus backup features with the Atom. This is what excited me. Got to get my little C and B listers in there. So good stuff there. And there's the 44 pages for 50 cents. Adventure Comics. This is a childhood copy. You can kind of tell. Pretty rough shape. One of the dollar books, but great story and art. You got Dead Man and Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Flash, New Gods, Elongated Man. A lot of great story and art in here. You got Jim Aparo, Joe Staten, Irv Novick, Don Newton. So just a great package. And then, like I said, I had to upgrade some of these. So, and here we have one of my favorites. This is actually the last issue. All-Star Comics #74. Look at that. Great Joe Staten and Dick Giordano cover. Got the Golden Age Superman. I just love this title. It came back out in 1976 with All-Star 58. And alas, this was the last issue of this title. And for some reason, are you paying attention to Eric and Rod? Okay, here we go. We got Batman 303. Great Jim Aparo cover. For the most part, there wasn't any key issues other than just, being key to me because it's the explosion. But most of these won't cost you more than a few bucks, in mid-grade. Higher grades, you'll get up $10, $15, $20 on some of them. But and here's a backup feature. Can you solve the unsolved cases of Batman? Well, if Batman can't solve it, we're in trouble. Okay, here we got a new title, Battle Classics. This is a reprint book. Speaking about the Jeanette Kahn thing. And I think this was like... what was funny about this, all these characters appeared in this story, I think, except... not really sure who the man in the iron suit was. At first, I thought it was like a G.I. Robot or something like that, but, this was way before G.I. Robot came on the scene. So you got some great DC War comics there with a great Joe Kubert cover. Only issue of that. And here we have, is this? Yeah. I think this is my childhood copy, which is actually in pretty good shape. Black Lightning number 11. This is also the last issue of this book. But it's got a great story in it. And like I say, these backup features, the Ray just kind of splintered off from Freedom Fighters for a while. So it was, and I really loved the story, you know, and I was like, wow, this is it? Just the only chapter of this story. So yeah, that was the last issue of that. Here's a upgraded copy. Now some books got canceled like right before, and weren't part of the explosion per se. They got canceled because they were trying to make room for these. So books like Freedom Fighters, and some other things that got canceled before the so-called implosion. So not to get those confused with some of the other books that got axed afterwards. But yeah. Here we go. Some Brave and Bold, number 143. Batman and Creeper plus Human Target. An exciting extra feature too. So great Jim Aparo cover. Could never go wrong with Brave and Bold back in the 70s. And DC Presents number 2. Superman and Flash. Garcia Lopez on the cover and art. I think this is my childhood copy. You can tell. Back when people actually read their books. I still read my books. So, gotta watch my time. I only got like 30 minutes before my screen goes out here. Here's Detective Comics 479 with some great Marshall Rogers art. Steve Englehart on the scripts. One of the many versions of Clayface. This is a really good story. And you got some a backup Hawkman. Sorry about that, Higgy. And I believe this has Murphy Anderson on the art, so that's an extra bonus there on the Hawkman feature. And got the aforementioned Doorway to Nightmare, the last issue of that title. Love this little series. Got some great Mike Kaluta covers. Got Madame Xanadu. Some great mystery, horror, supernatural type things going on there. Dynamic Classics number 1. This reprints a Detective Comics story by Neil Adams, Secret of the Waiting Graves. So and you got the reprint of the first Manhunter appearance by Goodwin and Simonson. So from a lady that didn't like reprint books. And this is an upgraded copy. Here we have Flash 265. This is a childhood version, or a childhood copy, I should say. And you got Kid Flash. So very cool. And Ghosts 68. Looks like a nice Luis Dominguez cover. And 5 haunting spectral stories. More pulsating pages. Why wouldn't you want to buy this book? And Green Lantern, co-starring Green Arrow, number 108, against Replicon. Great Mike Grell cover. And you got an extra feature, which I was excited about this too. The Alan Scott Green Lantern, Golden Age, Earth 2, JSA, yes. And here we got another great Mike Kaluta cover, House of Mystery 260. Guy looks kind of devilish there. Jonah Hex, number 16. With a Rich Buckler and Frank Giacoia cover. Gotta love Jonah Hex. And Justice League of America 158. With Ultra. I really like that character. I think this was the second appearance. This is another Buckler and Giacoia cover. I think the first appearance was in Justice League 153. But there you got, looks like the Injustice Gang. And Ultra. And here's my beat up little childhood copy. I noticed that as time went on, my books didn't look as bad because I actually was learning how to take care of them. You know. And here's a. This one still hurts me to this day. The last issue of Commandy, the last boy on Earth. Got some great stuff in this one. Featuring tales from before and after the Great Disaster. And OMAC, Jim Starlin. Great, great backup series that ended up being in the pages of Warlord later on by Starlin. There's a great Starlin cover. There you got, Commanding OMAC, Ben Boxer. You got Dr. Canis. And all kinds of shenanigans going on there. But, why just have one copy when you can have two, right? Or three even. All right, here we got Men of War, number 9. Another great Joe Kubert cover. Got a nice date stamp on it there. Got Gravedigger, Enemy Ace, Dateline Frontline, plus a surprise guest star. Great stuff. And that must have been a childhood copy. Here's another one. Our Fighting Forces, number 181, featuring The Losers, another great Joe Kubert cover. And you got beginning explosive new series, Super Spy, the origin of codename Falcon, the American Kamikaze, and the Samurai Dies at Sunset. So all kinds of pulse-pounding World War II action going on there. Sergeant Rock, number 320. Joe Kubert, enough said. Showcase 104, last issue. Another great Joe Kubert. OSS, Spies at War. I will pick up any book that has a Joe Kubert cover. I don't care what it is. And here we got one of my favorite titles, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, number 243. And a Mike Grell and Joe Rubenstein cover. And you got the Legion of Substitute Heroes down here. Can't beat that. Now, with Superboy and the Legion, Special Legion, this is one of those books that, people are passionate about it, or they just don't even want to know. It's like, oh, God, there's too many characters, too much history, too much going on. So, but, to me, like my buddy Rod, more characters, the better. Love the team books. And Eric Kay, another big team book fan. And Piggy. There's lots of fans, Sorry if I'm leaving somebody out. Don't mean to. I know Joe, Crazy Hungarian, he's a big team book fan. Justice League. Another copy of that one. And for some reason, all right, here we got Superman with 327, one of my favorite villains, Cobra. And you've got a feature called The Wedding of Mr. and Mrs. Superman, featuring the Earth 2 Superman, the Golden Age version. There you got Superman and Cobra, Ma and Pa Kent, Earth 2 Superman. Can't go wrong. And during this time, there were some Whitman versions. I've got a couple. This is the Whitman version of that. Shout out to Metarog on this one. And all you guys that like the Whitman stuff. I'm a fan of it myself. Okay, here we got Superman Family 191 with a Rich Buckler, Nick Giordano cover. All kinds of great stuff going on here. Superman, Supergirl, Superboy, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Nightwing, and Flamebird, and Crypto. Can't go wrong with a dollar book. And we got Unexpected 187, another Luis Dominguez cover, and another 5 fright-filled stories of suspense. And there's another copy of that one. Must have been bought that one off the rack first. Love this cover. Unknown Soldier number 219. at this. Joe Kubert at his best. I don't think he ever had a worst. And here's a favorite. Weird War Tales number 67, another Joe Kubert cover. And this has actually got a Mike Grell story in it that was first printed in Amazing World of DC Comics, number 12. And then they reprinted it in color later. So very cool. Here we got Weird Western Tales number 48, starring Scalp Hunter and also Cinnamon, backup feature. Who did this? This is by James Sherman and Dick Giordano. I think back in the 70s, James Sherman did a lot of stuff for the Legion. A couple more. Here we have another Luis Dominguez cover on Witching Hour number 84. Gotta love the covers with the skulls, right? And last but not least, Wonder Woman 247. I always liked this character for some reason. Inversion, the Inside Out Man. I don't know how many appearances he made, but not many. And then you had Tales of the Amazons, another Rich Buckler and Dick Giordano cover. So that's all we have for the month of June, 1978, the beginning of the DC explosion. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I certainly had a great time gathering all this stuff up and doing the research. And like I say, I know there's some fans of this stuff. And by no means is my take on this completely comprehensive or anything like that. There's been other videos talking about the DC explosion and implosion. I hope I'm not repeating myself because I started like a 10-minute, did another version of this, and it lasted 10 minutes and my screen went off and I didn't have my screen timer set right. So I'm doing this over. At least I had to do the first 10 minutes over. But like I say, there are a lot of, well, I don't know if a lot, but, you know, there are several videos about the DC explosion and implosion. And those are, you know, I've checked a couple of them out. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. This is just my take. Just because it's you know, it's special to me, special time in you know, as a teenager, you know, I was kind of making some of my own money, you know, playing music and doing odd jobs, and so I could, you know, buy more comics. And that's where all my money went, other than maybe buying bass strings for my bass. But you know, right before I started driving, so I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff yet. But yeah, it was just a great time to me. Might have I'm gonna have one more part to this. Might be able to cover it both months, but if not, I'll have two more parts. And I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like I say, I've had a good time. And we'll see you on the next one. Onward and upward.